I do not believe in psychics.
Come with me to a seance. Spot the con I can't.
Detective, you are here to discredit me, but I can talk to the dead.
Wait! Before we get started on this haunting tale that's in theaters right now, please do us a favor. Please hit that subscribe button right at the bottom. It's free! This is the third film entry of the murder mystery tales based on Agatha Christie's books, starring Kenneth Branagh, directed by Kenneth Branagh. And you follow Detective Poirot, is his name?
Yeah, Hercule Poirot.
The previous films were one was on a train. It was a murder on a train. Another one was Death on the Nile. Someone was murdered on the Nile in Egypt. And this time it's like a murder in Venice in a house. But this time it has spooky elements. Now this is based off a book called The Halloween Party. I gotta say, I'm not too sure about this one, man.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
The reason I'm not too sure about this one is that it had some really good elements. The main element that I did like about this, the detective, his logic and actual mathematics is kind of coexisting with something that's supernatural, and he can't wrapped his head around it. That's the stuff that I liked about this film. What I didn't like about this film is the actual resolution.
I'll be honest, I liked this movie. I thought Death on the Nile was painfully generic and boring. I felt like they were going through pains to try and try to cover the windows to show that they're like in a soundstage instead of like actually on a boat somewhere, you know?
Right.
But this one, I thought it was shot better. I thought it looked better. And I liked the overall premise of it, right? Our main detective, he is very logical, science oriented, right? Which means he just does not have the time. He doesn't have the energy to deal with your hocus pocus bullshit, right? And so it's Halloween. So of course, all of Venice is full of hocus pocus bullshit. And he's like, whatever, this is for the kids, you know? But then a character who is supposed to be like Agatha Christie. I mean, she's Agatha Christie in everything but name, you know?
Yes.
She's like, well, okay, I know you don't like all the superstitious stuff, but, you know, just entertain me, you know, loosen up, live your life, put a little life in your life and come to this party. And there is a little bit of a mystery here. We're going to have a seance, you know? And he's like, oh, fine, you know? And I liked the movie is kind of him trying to come to terms with his more logical, science-oriented mind. And while something superstitious appears to be happening in the house, right? I like that this setup kind of reminds me a lot of like Scooby-Doo, you know, where every episode of Scooby-Doo, the setup is something, a monster's in the closet, but at the end they take the mask off and it's something much more logical, a much more logical explanation, right? And throughout the film, his thought process for logic is starting to become questioned because he thinks he sees ghosts and he thinks he's hearing ghosts and XYZ, and he's trying to explain why. So this kind of stuff I enjoyed. I like that the movie starts off with a bang. They put all their best stuff right up front. Michelle Yeoh walks in and kicks down the door and outacts everybody, I feel like. You know, even though she has a relatively small role. It's like big in scope, and this is some spoilers here, light spoilers. I mean, light because I think you can infer this from the trailer. And I was like, Michelle Yeoh is like doing her thing. I'm like, oh, she's doing too much. I see. Her role is gonna be small. I see, and it sure was. After Michelle Yeoh mysteriously is killed, he's got to figure out what happened, and he doesn't really give a damn. He's like, look, someone in this house is a killer. I don't know what happened. I don't care what happened. But no one's leaving until I can solve this case. So it's our detective, whose name I have a hard time pronouncing, locked in a spooky haunted house with an assortment of characters who have all kind of reasons to do all kind of messed up stuff. Not only to Michelle Yeoh's character, but to each other. And again, I liked that setup. Even though the big twist, the big thing in the end where he's supposed to go, you know, I figured that out immediately. Like the millisecond it happened, I'm like, got it. But for me, it didn't actually ruin the film. And that's because, or partially because, I think Kenneth Branagh, he shot this movie, I thought, beautifully. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like there's all these incredible shots of Venice, and almost all of his camera angles are
His
like to the
Dutch
side,
angles.
kind of
Dutch
Dutch angles, kind of canted, and they're very still. His camera is very still, and characters kind of walk in and out of frame. So it feels kind of old school, and I really liked the way it was shot, and that really helped carry me through the film, along with, of course, this big mystery.
Don't get me wrong. It's like I didn't hate this film. It's just the very ending, the end part of this, I'm like, I don't like that. But it doesn't ruin particularly the whole film, because I actually feel that this was better than Death on the Nile. Tina Fey, you come into this, you're like, it's gonna be like a jokey thing and stuff. She's gonna be telling jokes. There was some jokes in here that was in it that didn't like land for me in the film.
I didn't hear a lot of jokes from Tina Fey. I thought she played it pretty straight.
There was some jokes in there that I don't know if it was because it is Tina Fey and some of the lines were jokey or meant to be jokey, but I didn't see it at all.
Yeah, I thought she was pretty straight. I mean, like, she wasn't like the straight guy. Obviously, our main character is like the definition of the straight guy. But I feel like this was a much more subdued role for Tina Fey. And I thought she was fine. You know, I didn't see anything particularly standoutish or anything. I don't know. She came and went. I had no problem.
And let's go ahead and get into some of the spoilers now. Spoiler reveal right now. The purpose of them being here is that there's a woman that's throwing this Halloween party for kids, and her daughter is the one who died.
Right, years ago.
She committed suicide by jumping off her bedroom window.
Right. She committed suicide after being tortured by the ghosts of the house, because she was like laying in the bed, like, you know, because apparently some people are just more sensitive to the ghosts than anybody. So yeah, she threw herself off, and she was marked by the ghosts, and this marking was confirmed by the police and the whole thing.
This building was a orphanage, and it was ran by doctors and nurses, and the kids that were there, they were tortured. The ghost basically would attack people who were mainly nurses and doctors.
But one of the things that I liked about that I wasn't really expecting for this movie was they left it, again, we're in spoiler territory now. They left it ambiguous as to whether or not this house was actually haunted. Of course, the main thrust of the story was whether or not the ghosts actually committed this murder, right? They committed this murder and scratched this lady's back. Like, is that possible? Is that what happened? And I thought the movie was going to be like, because our main character is so logical, and he's like, there are no ghosts, there's no supernatural, because if there are, that means there's a God, XYZ, you know. I didn't think the movie was going to touch it, and he was just going to debunk the whole thing, right? But actually, what happened was he debunked the murder. He said, nope, what happened was just a regular standard murder, and one human killed another one. But whether or not this house was haunted was left ambiguous. And I liked that, because that's a step that I never was expecting to happen in the story. And Michelle Yeoh, who was she was like a medium, right? Coming in to do this great seance, you know, whether or not she was a scam artist or a quack, or whether she was actually being haunted herself by hearing ghosts and all this, also left ambiguous. Thanks to Michelle Yeoh's performance, you could kind of pick out anything in her performance to confirm or deny whether or not she was a con artist or not. And I enjoyed that quite a bit, and that was not something I was expecting to happen in this film. When the seance starts, right, our main character, he's like, I know this is going to be some bull. What kind of crap they're trying to show me? And before he even went to the room, he was like, who's been in this room? Don't touch the door yet. Who's been in there? She was like, no one. I've got the only key. And you can see in his head, he was like, bullshit, you know? And so, of course, when they do the seance and there's like a typewriter typing by itself, he gets annoyed. He turns on the light. Boop. Nope. Guys in the chimney. This is here. This is here. This is all bullshit. Goodbye. And this seems to confirm that Michelle Yeoh is a quack. That she's just taking advantage of this poor woman who is just trying to talk to her daughter after her daughter died a horrific death. But then the seance continues. And that's where we get into the things that aren't 100% sure whether or not they're real or not, which I enjoyed quite a bit.
Yeah, chandelier drops out of nowhere.
Right. And when that happens, he's like, what the? No, this is old house. We're in Venice.
Old house.
Your roof's rotted. That's all that is. This does not prove ghosts. This just proves your roof is rotted. You know, so I liked that he was still in denial, but you could see things starting to shake a little bit. To the movie's credit, I never guessed who the killer was, but I did guess why Poirot, our main character, was seeing supernatural things. And again, we're deep into spoilers now, but there's a point in the movie where Poirot is shaken up and he's like, oh, I need to sit down. And they're like, here, have some tea. You're the only person in this room to have some tea. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
That's where you saw it from a mile away?
The honey thing. They're like, where'd you find the honey? I found it next to the towels. I was like, honey next to the towel. Okay, all right. So this explained to me. I was like, I get it. I see now why our main character, who the movie's perspective is from his perspective, why he's seeing ghosts. You know,
and more importantly, who's giving him the tea? That's
right. Well, see, that part I wasn't 100% sure at, because the tea came from one spot and the honey came from another. And I didn't know whether it was the tea that was poisoned or the honey was poisoned. So I never figured out who done it before it was revealed. But I did figure out why we were seeing supernatural things. But for me, my issue with the ending, and when we finally revealed who it was, I realized that while he was giving the speech, he was like, I've figured out the thing. And I was like, I don't actually care. And that's a step that did not happen in a movie like Knives Out, right? Knives Out, through its humor, it makes you like these characters. And so when it's time to reveal who the killer is, you're like, I kind of hope it's no one, because like my heart's gonna be broken.
These people are really good.
I like these guys. You know, I don't want these guys to go to jail. I don't want them to get killed. You know, but in this movie, you know, I didn't really care if people died. I didn't really care who the killer was, and I already figured out why Kenneth Branagh's character was tripping. When it was revealed, though, I could tell the movie was you're supposed to go, you know, it's supposed to who the killer was, right?
That's what it's supposed to be in every murder mystery thing, right?
But you can only get that if I care about that character, right? If I liked the other characters as much as I'd liked Michelle Yeoh and our main character, I think we really have a really interesting story. But unfortunately, I didn't. But again, one of the things that really carried me through was the cinematography of the film. I think it was beautiful. I think it was shot really well, and I liked the idea of introducing the supernatural in a film series where you would think the supernatural wouldn't belong, and then they left it vague. Maybe there are just some things that are just unknowable.
By the end of this film, he's like, I'm gonna go ahead and get back to it and start answering these calls again. I kind of figure out that was a movie saying that like, he doesn't want to just go ahead and die. You know, he wants to continue to live. And this is his way of living on.
When he tries to confront Michelle Yeoh and be like, I don't like you. I don't like people like you. You know, people preying on people who are suffering, you know. And she was like, well, what does it matter? You barely live your life anywhere. You're essentially dead. Like as of right now, I talk to the dead, but you are dead. You know, you just sit around your house eating chocolate all day, like, you know, fun times, you know. And that was also kind of a theme of the film, where they're like, dude, can you loosen up? Like, god damn. Like, sometimes you are just a buzzkill. And by the end of the film, him having to confront his ideas on the supernatural, he's like, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe there are things out there that I could learn from. And maybe the fact that I am sitting here bored in my house, I'm already dead, right? I have no purpose. Solving crimes, even if they're simple, even if there's something I could just resolve in an afternoon, they give my life purpose. Therefore, it's a worthwhile thing to do.
Yeah, what carried me to the film was Kenneth Branagh's performance, Michelle Yeoh's performance, him battling with the supernatural and what's logical. I have to take points off because I agree with you. I didn't care about the other characters, but the cinematography was fire.
It was, of course, a dark and stormy night, right?
So the movie in horror film.
Yeah, so the movie's got all these beautiful shots of like rain dripping off of like gargoyles and stuff like that, and these beautiful ancient sculptures. And again, I think the movie just looks incredible. And the fact that this movie all takes place in one location, I thought this was a particularly interesting setting.
I'm gonna go ahead and give this film a B.
That's exactly what I'm gonna give it, a B. I think this is probably, in my opinion, the best of this series. Absolutely. This is probably the top. It's gonna sound so mean, but now that Gal Gadot is not in this one, you can feel how much she was just dragging down that last one, man.
Last party.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, oh my God. Gal Gadot essentially had the Michelle Yeoh position in the last movie, where she was supposed to be like the big celebrity person, except you can see what you get when you get a really good actress, right? When you get someone who has spent a career carrying movies on her back, you see what you get.
Real.
Michelle Yeoh, as always, the GOAT. I've been saying it forever, untouchable. She was freaking dead, and you could feel the absence of her presence, right? You're like, oh, okay, that was a big loss to the film. Anyway, I'm done gushing about Michelle Yeoh. I think she's awesome. Man.
She's everywhere, everything everywhere all at once.
And she always has been. I never guessed who the killer was, which I guess that's a big positive, even though I did guess some of the twists along the way. And it didn't ruin the movie. So I thought this was a very serviceable movie, and I thought it was a really well-timed movie. It's a good movie to get you in like the Halloween spirit,
Like I said, I enjoyed this film too. I kind of think this is like neck and neck with the first one. I don't put it over the first one. I put this miles above Dirt on the Nile. Death on the Nile.
Dirt on the Nile. And this kind of made me think of like what a potential, if you want to redo the Scooby-Doo series and have it be a little bit more mature, I could see like this exact setup being a great Scooby-Doo movie, and I mean that as a compliment, not as a negative.
Can we get Scooby to speak in it though?
No, see, that's the question. How do you do Scooby? I got no clue. Exactly.
There's a haunting in here. Let's split up, gang.
While he's like eyeing up Daphne,
Yeah, boy.
How about me and Daphne go upstairs?
Hey man, Velma had the cheeks, boy.
This has gone off the rails.
But do you recommend this film?
I do recommend it. I think this was a fun movie. Again, like I said, it's perfect for the fall. I thought the setting was fantastic. The direction was really good. But if you're looking for like a really, really, really good murder mystery, I'd stick to the Knives Out series. But this isn't a bad second place.
Yes, I do recommend you guys seeing this. And of course, Knives Out is leagues beyond this. but it's still great. More importantly, do you recommend this film? Have you seen A Haunting in Venice? Please get in the comments and let us know what you thought of it.
Who are you talking to?
Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Our subscriber count is going up because you guys are great and you guys are liking our content. You guys are talking to us. We are talking to you back, okay? So if you want to talk to us, come on, hit that subscribe button.
Talk to me.
Tell me your name. All right. And if you did like this rating and review for this film, please hit that thumbs up. Or you can hit that thumbs down, whichever you choose. It is your opinion. But just remember one thing, Scoob. It's mostly wrong.
Sound like a southern accent. What was that?
Oh, it's mostly wrong, man. It's a southern shaggy.
Okay.